Okay.
The green light's on, so it should work.
There we go.
Misty, there was a lot of disagreements you guys had on policies ranging from climate change to the Supreme Court. Which one do you think was the most important that you were able to bring out tonight?
I think they're all important in a number of ways. Obviously, climate change is a grave threat to the future of our country, and when we also talk about the broader issue of making investments in clean air energy, obviously our quality is a problem in Utah, and that does have a really negative effect on the health of our citizens. So that's a very important issue. Obviously, Supreme Court having longest vacancy that we've already set new record every day is very problematic. And when I'm elected, obviously that would have to be, I think, number one priority for the U.S. Senate is filling that vacancy if there is still a vacancy when January comes.
He has a pretty big lead over you, at least in polling. How do you feel that you did tonight? Do you think you were able to move the needle?
I think so. I feel like I was, well, we did a lot of preparing for the debate, and obviously after 6 months of interviews, 6 months of public appearances, I've become a lot more confident as a speaker. And doing this debate, I wasn't that nervous. And I think if the audience saw that, I felt that I was confident. I feel that it probably showed the audience. I think I probably sounded qualified and educated on the issues. And hopefully that came through. And if that did, I think it will help me. I think, and when we talk about the polling, there has been a few polls, but there hasn't been a lot of polling. I mean, obviously, there's been, I think the worst poll had me about 21%. The best poll had me about 37%, which, if I could guess 37%, actually be really good for a Democrat in the U.S. Senate race in Utah, because it'd be the best showing since '92. So there have been so the polling's been mixed, but I find that some of those polls actually be fairly encouraging, and I think we're making I feel that probably moves the needle in my favor tonight.
In
What would be
addition
a
to your
victory?
performance, what issues do you think you helped people draw closer to you tonight? On an issue base?
I said I had an opportunity. I took an opportunity on one of the questions to talk about the need for paid maternity leave. I feel that is an issue that really resonates a lot with Utah mothers. As I said, we do have the nation's highest birth rate. Other issues like we just talked about, air quality, it always is a top polling issue in Utah. And I think my answers on those really showed that I understand issues that concern a lot of Utahns, and I felt pretty good about my answers when I spoke on them.
When you just answered Ben's question, you said that 37% would be the best a Democrat's done since '92. What would be a victory for you in this race? Would it be something lower than actually winning the race?
Well, winning the race obviously is the goal. I'm not, obviously the goal is not to be second place, but if the best Democrat Senate candidate has done since '92 was 33% of the vote, 33.0% of the vote. So anything above that is a victory of sorts. Is that I ran as a Democrat who talks about actual core Democratic issues. We've seen some of the previous Senate candidates who kind of want to be, they're kind of wishy-washy. They don't want to take a lot of strong stances on, I think, our core party platform issues, such as living wage, such as climate change and other issues. And they want to be these moderate Democrats or Republican lights. And it wasn't a winning strategy for them. If they're getting 33% or less of the vote, it's not a working strategy. So I think it would validate that if we run as true Democrats and offer a real alternative, it will actually generate excitement among our own base and actually increase turnout and actually show that we can do better as a candidate who actually speaks about Democratic issues.
You talked about understanding working class issues and knowing what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. Given that, how have you balanced your job and your need to pay your bills with running for U.S. Senate?
Yeah, so I work at Harmon's. I'm full time. But because of the work of running for U.S. Senate, obviously a lot of work takes a lot of hours, and I've worked it out with my job where I'm currently only available Sundays through November. So working Sundays only gives me at least enough money coming in to cover my insurance premiums. Obviously, it doesn't give me a lot of money, but I do have a bit of savings. I've made a lot of good friends in this process who will make sure I don't starve. So it's good.
You cut your work schedule back to Sundays only.
Just Sundays. So
you can be.
yeah. So I'm just working about 8 hours a week right now. Sundays are the day we chose because it's it's not usually good data at Canvas, not good data at Phone Bank. There isn't usually a lot of events on Sundays, and at Harmon's they offer a $2 an hour differential on Sundays, so I actually get paid a bit more to work on Sundays, and that is enough money coming in to cover my insurance premiums because I still need insurance, and it does give me. I still even get a small paycheck every couple weeks. So.
Misty, why during the First Amendment discussion and LGBT rights and religious liberties and all that, did you not mention that you would be affected by his legislation?
Well, I don't think it's this. I think it's just talking about just in like. I try not to make this about me. I don't want it to be I'm not running to make this about me. I'm running to raise the issues affecting many people across this nation. It's not about me. It's about giving a voice to issues I care about. LGBT issues obviously are an issue I care about, but working class issues. When we're talking about being a cashier, Social Security Administration states that 51% of our working people in this country make less than $30,000 a year. I am in that 51%. I am someone who's representative of a majority of workers in this country.
Why didn't you talk more about Donald Trump? He's so unpopular. He's a drag.
It didn't really come up too much. I mean, I actually was expecting a question on like the presidential election because every other debate that the debate commission's done, that was one of the questions was about why you support top the ticket. Like it didn't come out in this debate. I'm not sure why, but that I did have an answer prepared for that. It just didn't happen to come up. Well, who would I vote for president, or like what would I say about Trump?
What was your answer going to be?
Well, I was gonna, like I said, because the question they'd had is why you support the top of the ticket, and I was actually just gonna talk about, how I was at the convention, right? I had the opportunity to go to Philadelphia during Clinton's nomination, and I was actually there with one of my really good friends, and and my friend, she always is telling this story about growing up and about how her mother worked just as hard as her male coworkers and was continuously paid less every single time. And that it's very important that we elect Clinton because Clinton wants to ensure that every woman in this country is paid equally. And that really resonates with me. And I remember when Clinton came on the stage that night, I remember how excited my friend was, how passionate and full of energy she was. And I thought it was a really beautiful moment. And whether or not, whatever, it doesn't really matter so much what Clinton does as president. I do think it is a historic moment for our country. That will inspire young women and girls across our nation for generations. And I think I'll be proud to vote for her because of that, even though I might have some disagreements with her.
So you will be voting for her?
Yes. There's 10 candidates on the ballots, and I think she's the best one. I mean, in the past, I have voted for third-party candidates, but there isn't someone that inspires me the way like Ralph Nader did, who I voted for in 2008, or Rocky Anderson, who was our former mayor, who I greatly respected and thought, honestly, one of Salt Lake City's best mayors.
Do you buy Mike Lee trying to distance himself from Donald Trump, or do you think he'd be?
He's free to support who he wants for president. Obviously, there are some Republicans who are really angry at him for distancing himself from Donald Trump. Other ones support him distancing himself from Donald Trump. It's it's a tricky issue in this election where we have really, probably some of the most unpopular presidential candidates in the history of this country. It's this is the first time in my lifetime. Nobody knows who's going to win the presidential vote in Utah. Is it going to be Clinton? Is it going to be Trump? Is it going to be one of these other candidates? Nobody knows. I think there's a good opportunity for Clinton to win in Utah, and she can win with 30 to 35% of the vote, which is kind of crazy. But I think, if Democrats going to win in Utah, this is the year it's going to happen.
Does that translate to help you down ticket?
Yeah, well, Clinton, she's been putting a lot of resources to the state. I've been seeing TV ads from the Clinton campaign, which is not something you would normally see in Utah. She has a field office. I know her campaign manager in Utah, Jefferson Campbell. He's someone I've met at a number of events where Democrats go to. He's a nice guy. He worked for Jackie Pascoopsy's campaign. He has a lot of experience, and they've been making a lot of efforts to get the vote out. And again, like when you look at a lot of the people are voting for Clinton. Most of them are also voting for me in the Senate race. So the more people they can get out to vote, I think does help down ballot Democrats, and that might make the math because Clinton's ground game is obviously much better than Trump's or any of the other candidates in Utah, and that I think will probably might make the difference. And if I had to bet, I would bet she's probably favored to win Utah with where the situation stands currently after the debates, after recent revelations about Trump, which honestly, the most shocking thing about those Trump tapes for me was that the Republicans finally had enough. I mean, when I heard the stories, I didn't even as another day that Trump's saying something that a lot of people would find offensive, but the Republican response was what shocked me more is that they hadn't been listening for the last year or so. This is par for the course from Trump. So I found that surprising. Yes.
We're good.
What do you think your win would mean for Utah and for transgender people?
It would show that someone who is passionate about the issues, that is just an average citizen who is concerned about where the direction our country's going, about that they can make a difference in their community, that they can challenge someone who is an incumbent, they can challenge somebody against odds and still be victorious. I think it also, when you talk about the transgender community, obviously people say when it comes to LGBT issues, I've already won, because just by winning a statewide primary, that is a huge victory. It was considered by many to be a huge upset. My opponent actually outspent me 4-1 in that race, and even getting to the primary was considered a huge upset because he had a 6-month head start. He could have built more name recognition. Crew delegates had all these advantages. He had a lot of money. He's a business owner, had all these advantages, but I was just able to run an insurgent campaign by talking about issues that resonate with the many people. When I talk about working class issues, I note that I'm a majority. The people are making $30,000 or less a year, just like me. Majority of people, I care about clean energy. Everybody, when you talk about paid maternity leave, everybody has a mother. Everybody knows somebody who's given birth. So why can't we guarantee paid maternity leave for our mothers like every other country on earth? It seems like an easy policy to win on if we advocated for it, especially as someone who is elected from Utah, where we do have such a high birth rate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.